Behind closed doors, she grappled with anxiety and a deep sense of frustration at how swiftly an unsubstantiated rumor could overshadow her years of dignified discretion. Eventually, the emotional strain reached such an intensity that she realized something had to change. She could not continue living as the unwitting protagonist in a public drama that showed no sign of ending. After much deliberation, she decided to take a decisive step, a formal announcement that she would step away from public life. The statement came through a single, carefully worded communication to a well-regarded British paper that had historically treated her with at least a modicum of fairness. She explained that she valued her privacy, that the speculation had taken a personal toll, and that she intended to focus on her family and personal pursuits away from the Klieg lights of paparazzi and endless gossip. The media reception was immediate and intense, as expected. Some outlets interpreted her announcement as tantamount to an admission that she had something to hide. Others claimed she was being bullied out of her rightful social circles by an unrelenting rumor mill. More sympathetic voices framed her departure as a courageous act of self-defense, a measured refusal to let public scrutiny consume her life. Rose, now resolute in her choice, refused to be drawn into further commentary. For her, stepping away was not about winning an argument or feeding a controversy. It was about preserving her well-being and reasserting a control she felt had been snatched from her. Over the following months, she began the practical work of retreating from the public arena. She scaled back her participation in aristocratic events, politely declining invitations that would have placed her in the direct line of tabloid attention. She also shifted her philanthropic energies towards smaller charities and organizations where she could contribute more discreetly. Instead of hosting lavish fundraisers or making high-profile appearances, she worked quietly in the background, offering her time and financial support without any fanfare. Her circle of close friends grew tighter, focused on those who had demonstrated unwavering loyalty and respect for her privacy. There were whispers, of course, that this departure could be temporary, that in time she might re-emerge. But Rose herself felt a profound relief in stepping off that public stage. Where once her days had been governed by social calendars and insidious rumors, she now woke to simpler rhythms: a morning walk, an afternoon spent reading or practicing photography, evenings dedicated to meaningful conversation with family and longtime confidants. Freed from the need to second-guess how each move might be perceived, she discovered a sense of peace that had long eluded her. Naturally, the tabloids were slow to let go. They spun stories about her reclusion, suggesting it was forced upon her by royal decree, or that she was harboring bitterness over alleged slights. But as time passed, and she consistently refused to re-engage, the appetite for new material about her dwindled. Other controversies arose to occupy the front pages, and the ceaseless churn of celebrity news found fresh subjects. Gradually, Rose's name became less frequent in the columns. Whenever it did surface, it was little more than a footnote, an echo of a once sensational storyline that people had largely moved on from. Meanwhile, within the royal family, the fallout took a subtler form. Kate carried on with her duties, sometimes facing questions about Rose that she politely sidestepped. Prince William, adhering to protocol, remained silent. In official settings, neither mention nor hint of the rumors was ever made. Palace aides presumably noted that the silent strategy seemed effective, and from the monarchy's perspective, the entire ordeal was best left to fade from collective memory. While no public statement was ever issued on behalf of the royals to clarify the true nature of Rose's connection to them, their unwavering silence was itself a statement that they did not deem the rumor worth acknowledging. Behind the scenes, there were quiet regrets. Kate was said to mourn the carefree closeness she had once shared with Rose, a friendship tested and strained by the swirl of unwanted attention. Those who knew the two women personally understood that whatever tensions had arisen, the root cause was never real enmity, but rather the media's compulsion to pit them against each other. But high-profile lives leave little room for clarifications, especially when clarifications might only perpetuate the gossip cycle. Thus, both women moved forward, carving separate paths in a world that had often thrust them together in ways they never orchestrated.
Royal Princess Anne. She has opened up the room and opened up her schedule to do something she rarely does.
Just minutes ago, Princess Anne stunned the world with a heartfelt and emotional farewell to Buckingham Palace. Her words left millions of royal watchers in shock as they realized that the royal family is not as invincible as they once thought. In a candid moment that broke royal protocol, Anne opened up about the impact the palace had on her life and how it shaped her journey. But what made this farewell so unexpected? Princess Anne, known for her stoic demeanor, revealed a side of herself that many thought didn't exist. It wasn't just a goodbye. It was a deep reflection on everything Buckingham Palace symbolized for her. Was this a final emotional release or a strategic move? Her words will change how you see the royal family forever. In her emotional goodbye, Princess Anne didn't just speak about her time at Buckingham Palace, but she revealed the silent, unseen struggles she faced while living under its roof. This wasn't the royal image everyone has come to know, perfect, polished, and untouched by pain. Anne's honesty about the weight of royal expectations, the pressure, and even her desire for personal freedom shocked the public. Was this the real Anne? Or was she just tired of the expectations placed on her by the monarchy? She opened up about how, for years, the palace felt less like a home and more like a gilded cage. Her words suggested that perhaps it was time to move on. Not just from the palace, but from the heavy burden of royal duty itself. As Anne spoke, there was a clear message for anyone listening. The royal family, despite its image of unity, is far from flawless. The emotions were raw, the reflections deep, and the words revealing. Princess Anne's farewell was not just about Buckingham Palace, it was about her own evolution as a member of the royal family. Her life, dictated by duty, was coming to a crossroads. Could this moment mark the beginning of a shift in how royals engage with the public and their duties? For the first time, Princess Anne was openly questioning the very system she's lived under for decades. What followed in her emotional speech left everyone questioning her future role within the royal family. Princess Anne didn't just say goodbye. She hinted at stepping back from the limelight. Was this a soft rebellion against the monarchy? Could the monarchy itself be headed for a major change, with Princess Anne leading the charge for a new era? Anne's words were not just a reflection, they were a potential warning to the royal family. Could this moment signal the beginning of the end for Buckingham Palace's hold over its most famous family? As the royal world processes this monumental announcement, one thing is clear. Princess Anne's emotional farewell has shaken the monarchy to its core. What do you think this means for the future of the royal family? Could this mark the beginning of a much-needed change, or is it simply the reflection of a tired royal under too much pressure? Stay tuned, because there's much more to come in this unfolding story. The secret behind Princess Anne's decision to leave Buckingham Palace will shock you. What made Princess Anne decide to bid farewell to Buckingham Palace? It wasn't just a desire for privacy or a simpler life. No, her decision goes much deeper. In her emotional farewell, Anne revealed an unexpected truth about her royal journey. For years, the public only saw a polished, strong princess, but behind the scenes, Anne's life was much more complicated. While the palace represents tradition, power, and duty, it also became a place of personal struggle. Her words about feeling trapped in the royal system resonated with many who believed she thrived in her role. But what made Anne truly decide to step away? For Anne, the constant spotlight and the pressure of royal duties became more than just a burden. It became a wall. She spoke candidly about her frustrations with the constraints of palace life. Unlike other royals who seemed to enjoy the luxury and glamour of their positions, Anne found herself seeking more than what Buckingham Palace could offer. But it wasn't just a case of wanting privacy or peace. Princess Anne was searching for something deeper. Her farewell was not just about leaving a building, it was about leaving behind an institution that, for decades, had dictated her life. The question remains, what does this mean for the future of the monarchy? Anne's personal reflections revealed a level of dissatisfaction that few expected. While many view her as the quintessential royal, always composed and duty-bound, Anne confessed that her journey through the royal family was far from ideal. She talked about the weight of tradition, and how, over time, it stifled her growth. It was as though she was constantly suffocated by the expectations of her title. Princess Anne's decision to leave Buckingham Palace wasn't just a personal choice. It was a bold statement against the very fabric of royal life. Is this a message to other royals who feel similarly constrained? Anne's exit might be the beginning of a royal awakening that could change everything. The media reaction has been explosive, with some seeing Anne's departure as a rebellion, while others speculate about her deeper motivations. Was Anne trying to reclaim her personal identity? Or was she sending a message about the pressures faced by all royals? Whatever the reason, Princess Anne's words have opened a Pandora's box of royal truths that the public wasn't ready for.
As my grandmother said when she was crowned, coronations are a declaration of our hopes for the future.
Something shocking has just turned Prince William's world upside down. A DNA test has revealed a secret so big that it changes everything he thought he knew about himself. His family, his past, and even his place in the royal world. Everything is now in question. The truth hidden for so long has finally come out, and the result is something no one saw coming. Prince William's reaction? He has cut all ties and walked away, refusing to be part of the life he once knew. What was in those test results? Who is his real father? And what does this mean for the royal family? The truth is out, and it's bigger than anyone could have imagined. The DNA bombshell rumor. The internet has been exploding with one of the craziest royal family rumors we've heard in a long time. It's something that, if true, could change everything about the future of the British monarchy. The rumor says that Prince Charles, now King Charles, might not actually be the real biological father of Prince William. Yes, you heard that right. It all started with some tabloid reports making wild claims about a secret DNA test. Soon, YouTube channels picked it up, and then TikTok creators and Reddit users joined the conversation. The story spread like wildfire. Before we knew it, people all around the world were asking the same question. Could it really be true? Is Prince William not King Charles's biological son? Some of these online stories claim that the information came from an anonymous royal insider. According to them, someone very close to the royal family leaked the details of this DNA test. They say the test was done in secret, somewhere private, away from the public eye. No one was supposed to know. The results were meant to stay hidden forever. But somehow, the news leaked. There's even speculation that the DNA test wasn't recent. Some believe it happened years ago and was kept under wraps until now. Others think it was done recently, maybe even by William himself, who wanted to know the truth once and for all. Either way, the idea of a secret DNA test happening inside the royal family is something that has captured everyone's attention. Now, imagine being Prince William, growing up your whole life thinking you're the future King of England, only to find out you might not be the rightful heir. It's hard to even imagine how devastating that news would be. Some rumors claim that William was completely shattered after learning the results. They say he felt betrayed, lost, and confused. And honestly, who wouldn't? The whispers don't stop there. Some even say that after learning the truth, William started pulling away from King Charles. They claim he stopped taking private calls, avoided family gatherings, and even distanced himself from royal duties. If you've noticed how tense things have seemed between William and Charles in recent public appearances, well, maybe this is why. The royal family, of course, knows how damaging this kind of story can be. It's said that they quickly moved to shut everything down. Rumors of lawyers being involved started spreading. Some online sources say the palace even threatened media outlets with lawsuits if they published anything. But despite all their efforts, the story just keeps growing. What's really interesting is that no major news outlet has fully confirmed the story. At the same time, none of them have truly denied it either. Some people think that's because they're too scared of going against the royal family. Others believe it's because the whole thing is just too crazy to be true. Either way, the silence from the palace is making people even more curious. And honestly, who wouldn't be curious? If this DNA rumor is real, it could change the entire future of the royal family forever. Potential alternate paternity claims. Now, if Prince Charles isn't William's biological father, the big question is, who is? That's where the story gets even messier, and honestly, even more interesting. The first name that comes up in almost every conversation is Major James Hewitt. If you've followed royal gossip over the years, you probably know that name. James Hewitt was a British Army officer, and more importantly, he was Princess Diana's rumored lover. For years, people have claimed that Prince Harry looks like Hewitt, mainly because of the red hair. But now, the rumor has twisted, and some are saying, what if it's William who is really Hewitt's son? The problem with that theory is the timeline. Most reports and royal experts say that Diana didn't even meet Hewitt until after William was born. But the internet doesn't care about facts. People are now pulling up old pictures, comparing William's face with Hewitt's and with Charles's, analyzing every little feature, his jawline, his nose, his smile. Some say William looks nothing like Charles. Others argue he's the perfect mix of Diana and Charles. It's funny how people online have become expert detectives overnight, zooming in on photos and pointing out tiny things like, look, their ears don't match, or see the shape of the eyes. But honestly, it's all just guessing at this point. Other theories are even wilder. Some people believe there was someone else in Diana's life, a man we never heard about, a secret relationship that the palace successfully kept hidden all these years. Maybe a close friend, a bodyguard, or even another military figure. The possibilities are endless, and that's what makes this story so fascinating. The truth is, Diana was very open about how unhappy she was in her marriage. She admitted that both she and Charles were seeing other people. So, is it really that hard to believe that there might be another man out there who could be William's biological father? It's a question that's keeping millions of people hooked on this story. Prince William, cutting ties. What does it mean? Now let's talk about what's really driving the drama. Prince William's rumored reaction. Some reports claim that after finding out about the DNA results, William started pulling away from his father, emotionally and physically. People say he stopped showing up at certain royal events and family meetings. He began avoiding his father whenever he could. And honestly, if this is true, who could blame him? Imagine living your whole life thinking you're next in line for the throne, only to find out you might not even be blood-related. That kind of news would break anyone. But here's where things get even more serious. Some insiders are whispering that William is so upset that he's considering refusing the throne altogether. Can you imagine that? The future King of England, the man everyone's been watching since birth, stepping back and saying, I don't want it. That would be the biggest royal scandal ever. People say William is now focusing only on his wife Kate and their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. He's putting all his energy into being a good husband and father. And honestly, that makes sense. Maybe he's thinking that protecting his family is more important than sitting on a throne built on secrets and lies. There's even talk that William is dreaming of creating a modern monarchy, one that doesn't care so much about bloodlines and old traditions, a monarchy that puts family, love, and honesty first. But some say he's thinking about walking away completely, giving up the crown and living a normal life with Kate and the kids. If that happens, the question becomes, what about Prince George? George has been in the spotlight since the day he was born. He's known everywhere as the future king. But if William steps down, what happens to George? Does he lose his place in the line of succession? Or does the crown skip their family entirely and move to someone else? The impact of this DNA rumor is huge. It's not just about family drama. It's about the future of the British royal family. People have already noticed that things seem off between William and Charles. At big public events, William looks distant. He doesn't smile as much. He avoids eye contact. Could this be why? If these rumors are even partly true, this could be the biggest royal scandal we've ever seen. Bigger than anything that happened with Diana. Bigger than Harry and Meghan leaving. Because this isn't just about bad behavior, it's about bloodlines. And when it comes to royal families, bloodline is everything. If Prince William isn't Charles's son, it throws centuries of tradition out the window. What happens to the throne? What happens to the royal family's power and place in the world? These are the questions people are asking right now. And the craziest part is, we might never know the real truth. The palace will probably fight tooth and nail to keep this secret buried forever. But the internet isn't going to let this one die down anytime soon. People are going to keep digging, keep sharing theories, and keep watching every move William makes. At the end of the day, we're all just waiting to see what happens next. Will William rise above it? Will he fight for the throne? Or will he walk away from it all? Only time will tell. The truth behind Prince William's DNA test has sent shockwaves through the world, leaving more questions than answers. If this revelation is true, it could change everything we know about the royal family. What happens next? Only time will tell. One thing is certain, this story is far from over. Stay tuned for more updates as this unfolds. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the latest on this and other shocking stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Actually, it's interesting. Sounds rather sort of bizarre, but I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I'd written it.
The innocence about her, you just thought, wow, this girl is knockout.
In a moment that has stunned royal watchers worldwide, Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer, and beloved brother of the late Princess Diana, has finally addressed the persistent rumors that have circulated for decades about his sister's life and death. At a commemorative event marking what would have been Diana's milestone birthday, the normally composed Earl broke down in tears before making revelations that threatened to reshape our understanding of modern royal history. This extraordinary moment of vulnerability and truth-telling has sent shockwaves through monarchist circles and beyond, reopening wounds many thought had finally begun to heal. The significance of this moment cannot be overstated. For nearly 3 decades, Earl Spencer has been the stalwart guardian of his sister's legacy, famously promising at her funeral to ensure that her blood family would guide her sons so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly. His carefully measured public statements about Diana have always balanced familial loyalty with appropriate discretion. Until now, that is. Why now? Why at 60? Those close to the Earl suggest that reaching this milestone birthday, an age Diana herself never reached, prompted a profound reassessment of family obligations and historical truth. Charles has carried these burdens silently for decades, reveals one longtime family associate. There comes a point when the weight of unspoken truths becomes unbearable, particularly as the principals in this story age and the historical record begins to solidify. The revelations center on the final years of Diana's life and the circumstances surrounding her tragic death in Paris. According to Earl Spencer, the level of establishment resistance to Diana's independent path was far greater than the public has ever been told. What my sister faced wasn't simply media harassment or palace disapproval, he reportedly stated through tears. There was a coordinated effort to control her narrative, her movements, and ultimately her legacy that went beyond what anyone has acknowledged publicly. Most explosively, the Earl has apparently confirmed long-whispered rumors about unusual surveillance in the weeks before Diana's fatal accident. While stopping short of endorsing conspiracy theories about deliberate harm, Spencer described a pattern of monitoring and interference that deeply troubled Diana in her final months. She called me from secure lines, changed her plans constantly, and expressed fears that seemed paranoid at the time, he revealed. I regret more than I can express that I didn't take those fears more seriously. This revelation casts new light on Spencer's famous funeral oration, particularly his pointed reference to Diana being hunted. What many interpreted as grief-stricken hyperbole about press intrusion may have had more specific and concerning foundations. Charles has carried the guilt of not acting on Diana's concerns for 27 years, says someone familiar with the family. This disclosure is as much personal unburdening as it is historical clarification. For Princes William and Harry, their uncle's disclosures create complex new emotional territory to navigate. Both princes have spent decades processing their mother's death and constructing their own understanding of her life and legacy. Spencer's revelations potentially disrupt those hard-won narratives with new information about the forces that shaped Diana's final years. Royal sources suggest William was made aware of his uncle's intentions before the public statement, while Harry's prior knowledge remains unclear. The different positions the brothers now occupy, one at the heart of the institution, one removed from it, create inevitably different contexts for absorbing these revelations about their mother and the establishment's treatment of her. The Earl's relationship with his nephews has reportedly fluctuated over the years. Initially cast as a potential guardian figure following Diana's death, Spencer's role became more peripheral as the princes grew into adulthood within the royal framework. Recent years have seen apparent warming, particularly with Harry following his step back from royal duties. These new revelations may further complicate these relationships, particularly with William, whose future role requires careful management of institutional relationships. For King Charles and the palace, this development represents a significant challenge. The monarchy has worked diligently to move beyond the turbulent Diana years, gradually rehabilitating Camilla's public image and establishing a new royal narrative focused on stability and continuity. Spencer's emotional disclosures threaten to reopen questions many in the palace had hoped were settled. The timing is particularly sensitive given recent royal health challenges and the reduced number of working royals. A resurgence of public interest in Diana's treatment potentially undermines confidence in the institution at a vulnerable moment. Palace sources indicate that the response strategy will focus on respectful acknowledgement without engagement with specific claims, emphasizing the significant passage of time since these events. Public reaction has predictably divided along already established lines. For those who have always maintained skepticism about the official narrative of Diana's death, Spencer's revelations feel like vindication after years of being dismissed as conspiracy theorists. For others, his disclosures seem unnecessarily painful, reopening of historical wounds without clear purpose or resolution. Social media has exploded with renewed discussion of Diana's final years, with younger generations discovering or re-examining this history through the lens of Spencer's emotional testimony. The Spencer family's historical standing and Charles's reputation for measured public statements give these revelations a credibility that more sensationalist claims have lacked. What makes the Earl's disclosure particularly powerful is his historical reluctance to speak publicly about these matters. Unlike others in Diana's circle who quickly monetized their connections through books and interviews, Spencer has maintained dignified discretion for decades. This established pattern of restraint means his decision to speak now carries exceptional weight. The specific timing, at age 60, approaching the age when mortality becomes more tangible, suggests a man taking stock of his historical responsibilities. There's a sense that Charles feels this may be his last significant opportunity to influence how his sister's story is understood by future generations, explains one royal historian. As the last living person with intimate knowledge of certain aspects of Diana's experience, he carries a unique burden of witness. For the Spencer family more broadly, this moment represents a reassertion of their historical significance after years of being somewhat overshadowed by Windsor narratives. The Spencers, with their distinguished lineage predating the Windsors' royal status, have maintained a dignified distance from royal dramas, while occasionally reminding the public of their important role in Diana's formation and legacy. Mental health experts note the powerful symbolism of Spencer's emotional display. For a man of his generation and background, public tears represent an extraordinary breach of established codes of aristocratic restraint. This visible emotion communicates something important about the gravity of what's being disclosed, notes one psychologist. It signals authenticity in a way that mere words might not. The legal implications of Spencer's disclosures remain unclear. While he has reportedly been careful to avoid specific accusations of criminality, his statements about surveillance and institutional resistance to Diana's independence potentially raise questions about proportionality and propriety of actions taken by various authorities. Legal experts suggest that the significant passage of time makes any formal investigation highly unlikely. For historians of the monarchy, Spencer's intervention represents a significant new perspective that must be integrated into scholarly understanding of the late 20th century royal narrative. These aren't claims from a peripheral figure or someone with an axe to grind, notes one royal biographer. This is testimony from someone at the absolute center of the Diana story, speaking after decades of careful reflection. As the impact of Spencer's emotional disclosures continues to reverberate, attention inevitably turns to whether this represents his final word, or the beginning of a more comprehensive account. Sources close to the Earl suggest he has maintained extensive diaries throughout his life, materials that would provide unprecedented insight into the private Diana few were privileged to know. what remains most poignant about this moment is Spencer's evident continuing grief for his sister, nearly 3 decades after her passing. The tears that preceded his revelations spoke volumes about the emotional cost of both maintaining silence and finally breaking it. For all the historical and institutional significance of his disclosures, this remains at heart a story about a brother who lost his sister under traumatic circumstances and has spent a lifetime processing that loss. For those who continue to hold Diana's memory sacred, Spencer's testimony offers both validation and fresh pain. The suggestion that her fears in those final months had more foundation than was acknowledged forces a reconsideration of narratives many had reluctantly accepted. It raises uncomfortable questions about whether more could have been done to protect her, had her concerns been taken more seriously. The Spencer family motto, "God defend the right," seems particularly poignant in light of these disclosures. After decades of restraint, Diana's brother appears to have concluded that defending what he sees as right requires speaking uncomfortable truths, regardless of institutional discomfort or potential backlash. It is a position entirely consistent with Diana's own evolution from shy royal bride to outspoken advocate willing to challenge powerful interests. As this extraordinary story continues to unfold, one truth remains self-evident. The legacy of Diana, Princess of Wales, continues to exert profound influence on both the monarchy and public consciousness nearly 3 decades after her death. Her brother's emotional testimony ensures that influence will extend to new generations who never experienced the Diana phenomenon firsthand. For Charles Spencer, now standing in his truth at 60, the path forward involves navigating the consequences of breaking his long silence. For the monarchy, it means absorbing yet another chapter in a story they have never fully controlled. And for William and Harry, it means integrating new perspectives into their understanding of the mother whose loss has shaped their lives in countless ways. In royal history, this may well be remembered as the moment when the carefully constructed official narrative about Diana's final years faced its most significant challenge, not from sensationalist outsiders, but from the tearful testimony of the brother who knew her best and loved her most. For an institution that has weathered centuries of crises through strategic adaptation, this moment calls for particular wisdom and restraint. The monarchy's greatest strength has always been its capacity to absorb new realities without fundamentally changing course. That resilience will once again be tested as it navigates the fallout from Spencer's unexpected moment of emotional truth-telling. Whatever comes next, the sight of Diana's brother finally giving voice to long-held concerns after decades of dignified silence has created an indelible new chapter in one of the most compelling and tragic royal stories of modern times. At 60, Charles Spencer has ensured that his sister's truth, as he understands it, will remain part of the historical record, alongside the more sanitized official accounts of a woman whose life and death continue to fascinate and move us nearly 3 decades after her passing.